There is a crack in the sidewalk outside your house, and living inside that crack right now are thousands of ants. They've been there for years. You've stepped on them, poured water on them, maybe dropped crumbs near them, and they've done absolutely nothing. They scatter for a few seconds, disappear underground, and then come right back out like nothing happened. You've probably never thought twice about them. And honestly, that makes sense, because those ants, the ones under your feet every single day, are about as dangerous as a houseplant. But somewhere in the jungles of South America, at this exact moment, a column of ants is moving through the undergrowth. There are no crumbs involved. There is no sidewalk. There is no ignoring them and going about your day. Because this column is 2 million insects wide, it is consuming everything in its path, and if a lizard happens to be sleeping on the wrong branch tonight, it will be reduced to a clean, white skeleton before sunrise. Not because of venom, not because of acid, just because of numbers, coordination, and the most violent form of collective intelligence that evolution has ever produced. The difference between a pavement ant and an army ant is not the difference between a small predator and a large one. It is the difference between a single raindrop and a flood. Pavement ants are the ones you know. The tiny, dark specks that appear around your kitchen in summer follow a perfectly straight line to a piece of dropped bread and seem more interested in sugar than anything resembling danger. They build their colonies inside concrete cracks, under slabs, between the foundations of buildings. A mature pavement ant colony has somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 workers. They are, in the truest biological sense, opportunists. They eat seeds. They eat dead insects. They eat whatever crumbs fall within their foraging range. When two pavement ant colonies meet at the boundary of their territory, they do something that scientists call a tournament battle. Thousands of ants push, grapple, and posture against each other in what looks almost like a tiny, chaotic wrestling match. Very few of them actually die. Most of them just shove each other around for a while and then go home. It is, by any measure, the most polite form of warfare in the animal kingdom. Now forget everything about that. Army ants don't have a home. That's the first thing you need to understand. And it is the fact that changes everything downstream. Pavement ants build a permanent nest, defend a fixed territory, and stay in one place for years. Their entire existence is organized around protecting a location. Army ants have no location. They are nomadic by design, which means they are never not moving, never not hunting, and never operating on anything except a constant, full-scale offensive against the world around them. A single army ant colony can contain anywhere from 100,000 to over 20 million individual workers. That number is worth sitting with for a moment. 20 million. The entire human population of Chile, compressed into a moving carpet of insects that occupies a patch of jungle floor. And unlike the pavement ant, which is a fairly standard insect operating fairly standard insect behaviors, the army ant is something the scientific community calls a superorganism. This is not a metaphor, it is a biological classification. The colony does not function like a group of individual animals making individual decisions. It functions like a single entity, a distributed brain spread across millions of bodies, capable of solving problems that no individual ant could ever process alone. This distinction matters enormously for what these animals can do. When a pavement ant finds food, it lays down a pheromone trail back to the nest so others can follow. Simple, effective, limited. When army ants encounter an obstacle, like a gap in the jungle floor too wide for them to cross, something remarkable happens. Workers begin throwing themselves into the gap. Not randomly, they stack and grip each other in precise configurations, building a living bridge out of their own bodies, calibrated in real time to the width of the gap and the volume of traffic crossing it. When the traffic stops, the bridge disassembles itself. No ant decided to build that bridge. No ant decided to take it apart. The colony decided. The ants were just the moving parts. They do the same thing with their nests, which they call bivouacs. When the colony stops moving, the workers interlock their bodies using specialized hooked claws on their legs, forming a living ball of ants that can be the size of a basketball or the size of a car, depending on the colony. The queen and the larvae sit in the center of this ball, kept warm and protected by 200,000 living walls. Every morning, the ball dissolves. The ants unlink from each other and the column forms again. They don't need architecture. They are the architecture. But the thing that makes army ants genuinely terrifying, the thing that separates them from every other predatory insect on the planet, is their raid system. A standard army ant raid begins before dawn. Scout ants that have been ranging through the jungle overnight begin returning to the bivouac, laying pheromone trails. These trails do not point toward a specific food source the way a pavement ant trail does. They point toward a direction of density, an area where the scouts detected enough biological activity, enough scent of living things, enough movement in the leaf litter to suggest that a raid sent that direction will find prey. The colony responds not by sending a few hundred workers, but by mobilizing hundreds of thousands simultaneously. The raid front is a wide, fanning formation that can span several meters across. It does not move quickly by any absolute measure. A running human could easily outpace it. But for the animals that live in the jungle understory, speed is irrelevant. What matters is detection. And by the time most prey animals detect an army ant raid, the flanks have already moved past them. They are surrounded before they know anything is happening. Consider the lizard. A small lizard resting on the jungle floor has functional eyes, functional legs, and a full set of survival instincts refined over hundreds of millions of years of evolution. Under normal circumstances, it is extremely good at staying alive. It detects movement, it detects vibration, it can run at speeds that make most insect predators irrelevant. Against a spider, against a centipede, against almost any other arthropod on the forest floor, the lizard wins by default. It is simply too large and too fast to be a viable target. But the army ant raid does not send one predator at the lizard. It sends 10,000, and then more behind those, and more behind those. The moment the first wave of ants reaches the lizard and begins biting, the lizard's instinct is to move. So it moves, and it runs directly into the part of the raid front that has already flanked its position. More ants, it changes direction. More ants. The bites are not individually lethal. A single army ant bite is painful but minor. But there are no single bites happening. The ants are covering every surface of the lizard's body within seconds, biting simultaneously, and the coordination of thousands of simultaneous bites overwhelms the animal's ability to respond to any individual one. It is not being killed by a predator. It is being killed by a system. Within minutes, the lizard stops moving. Within an hour, the workers have begun the process of dismemberment, cutting through tissue with mandibles that, relative to the ant's body size, exert more cutting force than almost any other biological structure of similar scale. They carry pieces back along the trail. They do not eat at the site. The colony eats together at the bivouac after the raid has returned. What is left where the lizard was resting is a skeleton, cleaned to a degree that would make a surgical instrument look careless. This is not an unusual event. Army ants strip insects, spiders, scorpions, frogs, snakes, and, yes, lizards on a daily basis. During periods of active raiding, a single colony can consume over 30,000 individual prey animals in a single day. Not catch, not wound, kill, dismember, and fully consume. 30,000 animals in one day, from one colony. The jungle is full of creatures that have evolved their entire body plan specifically to avoid army ants. There are beetles that have developed chemical mimicry, producing pheromones that make them smell like army ants so the raid flows around them. There are birds, called ant birds, that have built their entire ecological niche around following army ant raids, eating the insects that flee ahead of the column. The army ant raid is such a consistent feature of the jungle environment that entire species have evolved in permanent relationship to it, the way animals on the savanna evolved in relationship to wildfire. It is a force of nature that other life forms have simply had to accommodate. The pavement ant has generated no such adaptations in anything. Nothing has evolved to flee from pavement ants. Nothing has evolved to mimic them. Nothing has built a lifestyle around following their foraging trails. Because the pavement ant, for all its engineering, for all the remarkable complexity of its small colony, is operating at a scale the jungle has no reason to take seriously. And this is the part worth sitting with. Because the pavement ant and the army ant share the same basic biology, same number of legs, same basic body plan, same evolutionary origin. They are, in the grand taxonomy of life, extremely close relatives. But one of them lives inside a crack in your driveway, occasionally loses a tournament battle over who owns the territory between two concrete slabs, and eats your dropped potato chips. And the other one has spent millions of years evolving into something that functions less like an animal and more like a natural disaster. The difference between them is not anatomy. It is scale, coordination, and the willingness of evolution to take the concept of collective behavior to its absolute, catastrophic extreme. The pavement ant is an insect. The army ant is a superorganism, and the jungle, unlike your driveway, is a place that takes the distinction very seriously. Next time you see a line of pavement ants marching across your kitchen counter, you can watch them with something close to calm. They are doing their thing. They are not interested in you. They are looking for crumbs. But somewhere in the Amazonian undergrowth, 2 million animals that share their exact blueprint are currently doing something that has no equivalent in the natural world. A living carpet is rolling across the forest floor. A skeleton is being assembled, one carried piece at a time, inside a ball of living insects the size of a car. And the jungle, the thing that most people imagine as the most dangerous place on Earth, is getting out of the way.